Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up Neo4j database server on Microsoft Azure. Then we will also connect to that using Bastion service so that we can access that server from within browser, right? So let's go to the Azure portal, and then we have two options to go to virtual machine. First, we can use create resource. Alternatively, we can go to all services, compute, and then VM. So let's go to all services. Here on the left hand side there will be categories. So we have to find the category for compute instance, and there you will find virtual machine. Click on that so that in next page you will be going to the dashboard that has these options. So click on create Azure virtual machine, and here we will be setting up some of the configuration so that we can create the server. So pick the subscription, right? Then pick the resource group. Here you can see this subscription may not be eligible for VM of certain size. Okay, fair enough. So let's name this Neo VM, and then let's pick the region. And here you can see we have to pick the image, right? Meanwhile, we can set the security type to standard and no need for redundancy. So here let's find all the images. Here we have to check for Neo4j, and it should search once we hit enter. We also have to update this particular area for free deployment. So here you see Neo4j packaged by DevNami. We will select that. Once selected, we will be back to our setup. Now notice that region is auto changed to adjust to this VM, right? Now let's move to the size. I will pick 1 CPU, 1 GB memory, and I will choose authentication as SSH file. Here the username remains Azure user. It will generate new key pair name, Neo VM key. And then in the disk tab we have encryption, then we have OS disk, we set to standard HTTP. Then we have key management set to platform managed key, right? Next thing is choosing the networking. Now here you already find that auto populating your virtual network, subnet and public IP. Unless you want to change anything, you can stick with default. Choose the NIC as basic, but considering both of these are grayed out, we will go with advanced. Make sure to delete IP and NIC once the VM is deleted. This way you don't have to manually delete the resources. Also the network security group will be auto populated. Rest of the things here only load balancing, considering we are testing the Neo4j, not worth going for, right? So no need for load balancing in that context, but if you are setting it for business usage, you can go for it. Click management for further adding identity or Azure AD. So most of the Linux VMs don't support Azure AD, which is Active Directory, so it's reasonable. You can at the most use system assigned identity, and there isn't much guest OS update option with DevNami's images. So we will go to monitoring. Here I can enable the alerts and diagnostic options. So I will stick with default for manage storage account, and then come to advanced. Now here you have extensions to choose from to load during the deployment. Also there are VM applications that you can use at the time of installing of these virtual machines. There is also custom data options for you to select when you want to build something, right? Then comes user data option, right? You can enable or disable that. Apart from that, there are some options specific to SSD that are grayed out. And here you see your subscription is not registered to use NVMe. Fair enough. For capacity reservation and placement group, I will leave it as default. Right? Then go for tags. You can add the tag for sorting your resources. So let's move to review and create. Here it will go through validation, and once it is passed we can click create. But before that, you can see that subscription for your VM 0.88 applies, right, along with this particular default bitnami instance which runs for 0, right. So we will just go with the defaults and click create. Once we hit create, it will create a key, right, and we will download that, right, and it should be on desktop so that we can use it with Bastion, right. So let's wait for this process to go to deployment. Then it will take a minute or two or maybe more, depending on whether that region is going to allow you to deploy properly. So now that deployment is complete, I can click on go to resource, and from here we have to check for making the Bastion connection. Notice that this is our public address and we already have our key, which is private key that I can use in SSH as well. But let's make things easier for ourselves by going to connect, and then we can use Bastion option, right. So simply click Bastion. Here you can click use Bastion, right. Now it will give you an option to create new Bastion, right, new VM training, etc. All the resource group, virtual network and public IP address is visible here. Now what we can do is we will let this deploy, right, and this deploy will take time considering we are creating the virtual network and public IP along with Bastion's own deployment. So simply click deploy Bastion. Now once the Bastion is created, you will find the success message, also option to add authentication. So I will choose the SSH key and also add Azure user as my username. Now next thing, I will add SSH key to this path, and now we have it here. Now let's connect and it will open up in a new tab. So it will run like any other virtual machine. You will also able to do the same in your party. So I will explain the party procedure, but before that I will show you how to check your Neo4j instance. So Neo4j, then -- version. Notice that this particular IP that you get, you may have to make some changes to connect remotely. So you can read for that the documentation of bitnami, how to use that. Meanwhile, let's check the version. So let's see, version 6 is there, as you can see. So we managed to pretty much easily set the Debian here, right, and also we have our Neo4j server installed. So now what we can do is we will try and use the option to disconnect. To do that, I can use exit command and it should exit, and it will show you the option to close. Now once closed, let's take a look at our file, which is pm file. I will go to directory where I want to create public and private key for this, right. So here partition I am using, and I will just use that current key to create a private key option. So here let's create Neo p.ppk. Let's also create new p.pub. So we have like these two options. Right now, what I will do is I will try and use our party. So here for that we will go to overview, and that's where I have to check public address, and then go here, save this as new. You can remove any existing sessions. So we have IP added, then connection, then authorization credentials, where we have this new ppk file. Then let's go to session and let's save this and click open. Accept the certificate warning and type in Azure user as your login. SSH will do the rest. As you can see, even our party chain option works. Again, check Neo4j double dash version, and we have Neo4j server as well with version 5.6, as you can see. Now let's exit, as we have verified our Neo4j server. You can go ahead, make few changes as per DevNami documentation regarding the IP, and you are good to go.